Let's start with a really tough question. What if the very systems that are supposed to help families with disabled children were actually their biggest source of harm? It's a pretty shocking thought, but a new report is suggesting that for so many families, the search for support is actually more traumatic than the disability itself.
I mean, just let that sink in for a second. This one sentence from a parent completely flips the script on what we think we know. It says the real struggle isn't the disability, it's the constant grinding battle against the services that are supposed to be a lifeline. And this isn't just one person's story, it's a painful truth for thousands.
And yeah, we're not talking about a few isolated cases here. A really groundbreaking report from the charity Cerebra has gathered evidence from over 1,200 parents, and it's uncovered a massive crisis that's basically been hidden in plain sight for years.
The CEO of Cerebra, Jess Camburn-Rahamani, she just lays it out there. This is not some fringe issue. And those words are so important because they shift the conversation. This isn't about the resilience of families anymore. It's about the failure of our institutions. The problem isn't that families can't cope. It's that the systems designed to help them are, in fact, actively breaking them.
So to really get a handle on this problem, we first have to be able to name it. The report gives it a name: systems-generated trauma. But, what does that actually mean?
Well, here it is. It's the harm that's caused when you're forced to fight a hostile, bureaucratic maze just to get the most basic support for your child. So let's be super clear. This isn't a side effect of a disability. This is trauma that is inflicted directly by the system itself.
And this chart, man, it just lays out the two completely different worlds these families are living in. On one side, you have the personal journey of raising a child with a disability. But on the other, you had this bureaucratic war zone. And what the report shows is that it's that second battle that truly breaks people.
Okay, and this is where the report becomes absolutely staggering. For a lot of parents, the trauma from fighting for support is actually more distressing than domestic violence or even adverse childhood experiences. Just think about that. The system is causing more harm than things we all universally recognize as being deeply traumatic.
So the big question is, how? How does a system that's supposed to be a safety net become a source of trauma? Well, the report gets into the specifics, and it identifies several key ways these support systems are just fundamentally broken. The report really breaks down the anatomy of this failure. You see these fragmented services that don't talk to each other. You see a culture of suspicion that treats parents not like partners but like adversaries. There's this shocking indifference to the harm that's being caused. And the processes themselves feel way more like a cost-cutting battle than a mission to help anyone. Let's start with what might be the most soul-crushing part of all, this culture of suspicion and blame. Parents who reach out, who are literally asking for help, they're not seen as partners in their child's care. Instead, they're often treated like they're the problem, accused of being neglectful, of exaggerating, of just being at fault.
And this testimony, it just shows you the deep, lasting damage this culture of blame really causes. I mean, can you imagine gathering up all your strength to ask for help, only to be questioned and judged and made to feel like you're the bad guy? It leaves mental health scars, and it completely obliterates any trust you might have had.
And a culture of blame like that doesn't just happen in a vacuum. It's allowed to fester because of another huge failure the report points to: professional indifference. This is what happens when public bodies consistently fail to act or make changes, even when they know, they are fully aware that their systems are causing real harm to families.
Professor Luke Clements, who co-authored the report, has a name for this, and it's a heavy one: moral indifference. See, it's not just an oversight. It's a knowing failure to act when the harm is right there in front of you. And when you know the system is broken and you do nothing, well, you can't really claim to be blameless anymore, can you?
So when you add all of this up, what's the cumulative effect? What is the real-world human cost for these families who are just trying to get some help for their kids?
Yeah, this visual and these words, they really just capture it all. Broken, traumatized, cannot trust. The words that you see swirling around this family, like blame, distress, battle, they aren't just abstract concepts. They are the daily reality that fundamentally changes people and destroys their faith in the very institutions meant to protect them.
And the harm? It just ripples through every single part of a family's life. We're talking severe health problems, both mental and physical, financial ruin, broken relationships, and of course a complete and total loss of trust in the system. The pressure is so relentless
that, unbelievably, some parents even reported having suicidal thoughts.
And it's so important to remember that this trauma doesn't just hit the parents. It deeply, deeply impacts the children themselves. This parent describes their son becoming a shadow of his former self, hypervigilant, distant, and just unable to trust. The very system that was meant to help him ended up hurting him.
And really, this quote just perfectly sums up the cruel, twisted paradox these families are trapped in. The very act of seeking help becomes a cycle of trauma. They reach out for a lifeline and just get pushed further underwater over and over and over again. Okay, so after hearing all that, it sounds pretty bleak. But the report doesn't just diagnose the problem and leave us there. It actually offers a clear path forward. It's a genuine call to action, and it demands fundamental change. And the demands are actually pretty straightforward. First, public services have to formally admit that they are causing this trauma, right? You can't fix a problem if you refuse to acknowledge it even exists. And second, systems-generated trauma has to become a real research priority. We need actual evidence-based solutions to stop this harm before it even starts.
And that first step, just recognizing the problem, it's absolutely non-negotiable. It's the only way to even begin transforming how these services operate. It's the foundation for rebuilding the trust that has been so completely and utterly shattered. Without it, any other changes are just, window dressing.
And this gets us right back to why just naming the problem is so incredibly powerful. Like this person says, trauma has become baked into the system. It's been treated like an accepted, unspoken cost of doing business. This report matters because it drags that cost out into the light and absolutely refuses to let it stay hidden any longer.
When you strip everything else away, it all comes down to this one simple, powerful statement from Cerebra's CEO. Asking for help should never cause harm. It's such a basic principle, and it's been violated on a massive scale. It is time to put a stop to it.
So we're left with this question that's really at the heart of the entire report. What happens when the lifeline becomes the source of the trauma? Well, we've seen the answer, haven't we? Families are broken, children are harmed, and trust is just destroyed. The question now isn't just what will be done about it, but what will we demand be done to finally fix it?